I would love to see him have a farewell tour, then just walk away, because he's one of the three greatest players I've ever seen after Michael and Kobe. But I don't want to see him just hanging on just for the heck of it.
Charles Barkley just declared war on the NBA's biggest secret. And it's not about basketball. It's about power. His latest outburst wasn't just another headline-grabbing rant. It was a direct accusation that the league's new second apron rule wasn't about parity or fairness. It was, in his words, a deliberate attempt to stop one man, LeBron James, from controlling the league he helped define. The rule, pushed through in 2023, tightened spending and trade flexibility for high payroll teams. But according to Barkley, it was never about saving money. It was about saving the NBA from the influence of a single player who had turned front offices into his personal chessboard. We've watched the pattern for years. LeBron forcing trades, reshaping rosters, and bending management to his will. In 2019, the Los Angeles Lakers gutted their entire young core, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, to bring in Anthony Davis. The deal got them a title, but it also left the franchise hollow. Then came 2022, when coach Frank Vogel was fired weeks after LeBron publicly questioned the team's direction. Insiders whispered that Vogel had lost the locker room, but sources close to the situation said it was LeBron's camp, his inner circle, his media allies, that pushed for a reset. Each move, each demand tightened his grip over one of the most storied franchises in sports history.
But as promised, we're joined right now by a two-time inductee into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame and 11-time All-Star, a 1993 NBA MVP Award winner. He won an Olympic gold medal as a member of the 1992 NBA Dream Team. He's won 5 Sports Emmy Awards.
But the pattern cracked in 2024 when federal agents unsealed an indictment that sent shockwaves through the league. Damon Jones, LeBron's longtime friend and former teammate, was charged with selling non-public information about the superstar's injuries to gamblers. Investigators say Jones tipped off associates before the February 9, 2023 game between the Lakers and the Milwaukee Bucks, just 2 days after LeBron passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to become the all-time scoring leader. Jones allegedly texted, "Get a big bet on Milwaukee tonight before the information is out." The Lakers lost that game, and Jones, according to court filings, pocketed thousands. Later, in January 2024, Jones allegedly did it again, this time with the details on Anthony Davis's injury. One gambler dropped $100,000 against the Lakers. The bet failed, but the damage was done. The FBI called it one of the most brazen sports corruption cases since the legalization of online betting. For LeBron, the scandal cut deeper than a friend's betrayal. It shattered the illusion of control. His name appeared in court documents, not as a defendant, but as the unnamed prominent player whose medical details had been leaked. For a man who built his empire on discipline, brand management, and secrecy, it was a nightmare. And Charles Barkley didn't waste a second. He went on live television and tore through the spin. "He's just old," Barkley said on Inside the NBA. "Everybody gets old. You can dress it up like sciatica." The quote went viral, but the context was sharper than most viewers realized. Barkley wasn't mocking LeBron's back pain. He was mocking the narrative, the endless excuses, the myth that the king was ageless and untouchable. Days later, the league's commissioner, Adam Silver, called an emergency press conference. His tone was grave. "There's nothing more important to the league than integrity," he said, calling the gambling case deeply disturbing. Silver confirmed that both Miami's Terry Rozier and Portland's coach Chauncey Billups had been placed on leave pending investigation. What he didn't say, what Barkley later hinted at, is that the scandal's ripples reached far beyond those arrests. Because behind the official statements and sanitized press releases, insiders were talking about something far darker: the league's secret war to rein in LeBron's empire before it consumed the sport entirely. We can trace the tension back to that 2023 rule change. The so-called second apron wasn't just a financial barrier. It was a leash. It made it nearly impossible for teams like the Lakers to add new stars once they'd gone deep into luxury tax territory. And according to former executives, that was the point. For years, LeBron's camp, through Clutch Sports, through back-channel influence, had treated roster construction as a personal project. The league couldn't stop it without appearing vindictive, so they disguised the crackdown as economic reform. Barkley's recent comments have reopened that wound. He called it out for what it was: the system fighting back. Then came the coincidence no one could ignore. Just as the Damon Jones case broke wide open, LeBron announced he'd be taking personal time away from the Lakers. The official story blamed sciatica, but skeptics saw a convenient distraction. Around at the same time, LeBron's name was being dragged through social media rumors about his association with Sean "Diddy" Combs, whose own criminal proceedings had become one of the year's ugliest spectacles. LeBron stayed silent, declining to comment, but the timing raised eyebrows across sports media, and that silence became its own story. As one former player told us, LeBron doesn't go quiet unless the room's on fire.
On the show a couple of weeks ago, they said sciatica. They could have just wrote old. It's the exact same thing. Yeah, all old people back hurt. You know, he's got to accept. I hope he leaves sooner than later, because I hate to see great players out there struggling.
Barkley, meanwhile, seemed to know something the rest of the league didn't. On a recent broadcast, he smirked as he doubled down on his criticism. They just put old with an extra D, he joked, refusing to use the medical excuse the Lakers had circulated. His timing was surgical. Just days after federal prosecutors confirmed that Damon Jones had traded on injury intel, Barkley went public with the claim that LeBron's physical issues were being exaggerated. To some, it was cruelty. To others, it was a hint that the injury story was a shield for something bigger. Maybe a league-wide cover-up, maybe a quiet suspension, maybe both. Behind the scenes, NBA executives were scrambling. Adam Silver's October 2025 press conference wasn't just about damage control. It was a strategic reset. After the arrests of Jones, Rozier, and Billups, the league abruptly ordered all teams to limit certain types of prop betting partnerships. Officially, it was a move to protect integrity. Unofficially, sources familiar with the decision told us it was aimed at cutting off LeBron's informal network of insiders, trainers, assistants, and longtime associates who had blurred the lines between business and friendship. By reducing prop bets on player minutes and injuries, the league effectively erased the leverage that had once made LeBron's inner circle so valuable to gamblers.
The proceeds were later delivered to his home, where the group counted their cash. As the NBA season tips off, his career is already benched, not for injury, but for integrity.
But here's where it gets even darker. The crackdown on prop betting wasn't just about cleaning up the sport. It was, according to some within the league, a calculated strike to strip LeBron of his remaining influence. Think about it. With his physical decline under scrutiny, his inner circle under investigation, and his brand tangled in Diddy's fallout, LeBron's leverage over the NBA had never been weaker. And that's exactly when Barkley decided to step into the fire. He wasn't mocking an old player's back pain. He was signaling that the era of protection was over. Why now? Barkley asked on air, almost rhetorically. Because, as he hinted, LeBron's sciatica isn't just an injury, it's a distraction. And if the NBA was willing to indict LeBron's inner circle, what else are they hiding? And why is Barkley the only one brave enough to say it? The second apron rule wasn't just a rule change, it was a declaration of war. Overnight, it crippled LeBron James's blueprint for control. No more stacking stars, no more trading futures for friends. The rule's new penalties, luxury tax hits, frozen draft picks, restrictions on trades, meant the end of the super team era that LeBron had mastered. For years, he'd orchestrated rosters like a general commanding armies. But the 2023 crackdown turned the battlefield against him. Suddenly, every dollar mattered, and the franchises that had bent over backward to please the king found themselves suffocating under their own payrolls. The Lakers' front office was drowning in contracts they couldn't move, with the ghost of the Westbrook experiment still haunting them. That deal, once meant to be LeBron's final weapon, became the symbol of his empire's collapse. A bloated roster, no flexibility, and a fading throne. As we watched the fallout, the pattern was impossible to miss. While LeBron's Lakers scrambled to stay relevant, the league quietly celebrated its new era. Teams like Boston and Denver became the darlings of the narrative. Organizations that built their success through patience, scouting, and development instead of LeBron's brand of instant gratification. When Nikola Jokic lifted the finals trophy in 2023, executives around the league privately toasted to what they called the restoration. It wasn't just a championship, it was proof that balance had returned. The league had finally taken back its power from one man who had spent 2 decades bending its rules.
It matters. Trust me that it matters. EPO matters. It's the reason LeBron takes it. It matters. And if other basketball has understood what it did, EPO increases your red blood cells, which gives you endurance so you can play all game long. You can shoot in the fourth
more
quarter
red blood
just like
cells,
you
more
shot in the
oxygen
fourth
in your red
minute.
blood cells. Okay, got you.
Then came the whispers about LeBron's body, the secret engine that refused to slow down. For years, fans asked how he was still dominating at 40. Former UFC fighter Chael Sonnen gave them an answer, and it wasn't pretty. He claimed LeBron used EPO, erythropoietin, a powerful endurance enhancer, the same substance that once destroyed reputations in cycling and track. Sonnen insisted he and LeBron shared the same supplier. He didn't provide proof, but his confidence lit a firestorm. Suddenly, sports talk shows were debating biochemistry, and the words performance enhancer clung to LeBron's name like static. The story resurfaced every few months, and each time, LeBron stayed silent. His refusal to address it only fueled speculation. Was he protecting his image or hiding the truth?
It's like, no. If you knew what these performance enhancers did, then you would know why it does matter.
What do you think he's
there's
doing?
only one. We have the same guy. If you will, I know exactly what he's doing. But there's only one golfer.
Please tell.
There's only one golfer. I'm not going to. But there's only one golfer that follows the big three. And the big three is EPO, growth hormone, testosterone. That's the Lance Armstrong diet. There's one golfer. but it's Tiger Woods. Like, yes, it does matter.
Tracy McGrady, a Hall of Famer known for his honesty, made things worse. On a podcast in April 2025, he said, "I don't know how he's doing it. I hope it's the right way." That pause, just a few seconds, was enough to reignite the conversation. McGrady never accused him directly, but he didn't need to. The implication hung in the air. Fans replayed the clip millions of times, dissecting every syllable. The question wasn't whether LeBron had ever failed a test. He hadn't. But whether the league itself had any interest in testing him seriously. After all, how do you investigate your biggest asset without risking the brand? But the real question isn't about substances, it's about control. Because after the Damon Jones scandal, the NBA's focus shifted from protecting LeBron to managing his downfall. Insiders claim that league offices began tightening media access, steering coverage away from GOAT debates, and discouraging analysts from calling LeBron the face of basketball. It was subtle at first. Fewer highlights on national broadcasts, reduced presence in promotional material, shorter interviews. Then, Barkley started talking. On live television, he accused the media of running a propaganda machine for LeBron, one that defended him no matter what. Coming from anyone else, it would have been dismissed, but Barkley has always been untouchable. He doesn't need endorsements, doesn't answer to networks, and doesn't care about access. When he called out the bias, people listened. Behind the cameras, producers began to whisper that something had changed. Coverage guidelines were shifting. One former insider described it as a silent freeze-out, a coordinated cooling of LeBron's presence in league narratives. The same media outlets that once worshipped him started pivoting to newer faces: Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Victor Wembanyama. It wasn't organic. It was strategic. LeBron's dominance had stopped being profitable. It had started being risky. Too many controversies, too many connections to headlines the league didn't want revisited. The Diddy parties, the Damon Jones trial, the prop betting investigation. It all made sponsors nervous. For the first time in his career, LeBron's silence wasn't power. It was survival.
Oh, man. Hey, Chuck, what about LeBron? Can you just say this? He hasn't made his debut yet. He's going to turn 41. Is this dude finally, the indestructible guy, is he finally just breaking down and is Father Time kicking his like Father Time has kicked everybody else's?
You know, Father Time always gonna win. There's nothing you can do about it.
Meanwhile, Barkley kept hammering the message. He mocked LeBron's sciatica injury, suggesting it was code for something deeper, a forced sabbatical, a quiet exile. The league called it rest, but timing made that hard to believe. Every move lined up too perfectly. The gambling arrests, the new betting restrictions, the tightening around LeBron's circle. What if the injury narrative was the league's way of writing him off without open conflict? An insider who once worked in NBA communications hinted that it's easier to manage a legacy than to destroy it. Translation: if the king steps down quietly, the league doesn't have to admit they pushed him out. Financial analysts noticed the shift too. The Lakers' brand value dipped for the first time since LeBron arrived in LA, and endorsements that once waited on his signal began to look elsewhere. Nike's newest campaigns barely featured him. The King James logo was fading from prime placement. Even his social media engagement, a barometer of modern fame, showed signs of fatigue. And through all of it, Barkley's voice grew louder. He said the quiet part out loud. LeBron wasn't just getting older, he was getting phased out.
All your family and friends are watching TV or on the internet, watching who says something about you, tweeting or on the internet. So, yeah, it's a generation of wussies we're raising.
Generation of wussies. So how do we reverse that? Or is that
It's
genie,
true,
or is the genie out of the bottle and the cow out of the barn and there's nothing we can do about it?
To understand the full picture, we have to consider how the NBA learned from its past. In the early 2000s, the league built everything around one man, Michael Jordan. When he retired, revenue plummeted. They promised they'd never repeat that mistake. So when LeBron became the next global icon, the league made sure it had backup stars waiting. That's why, as LeBron's era winds down, the league isn't mourning, it's maneuvering. It's rebranding itself around new faces, fresh narratives, cleaner headlines. The gambling scandal gave them the perfect excuse to hit reset. What better cover story than integrity? And maybe that's the cruelest twist. For decades, LeBron controlled the game. Now, the game is controlling him. Every public appearance feels staged, every injury update reads like code, and every silence screams louder than words. We used to think the decision was his most controversial moment. But what if the real decision, the one that changes everything, isn't his to make this time? When Barkley says LeBron's sciatica is just old age dressed up, it sounds like a joke. But look closer, and it feels like prophecy. Because maybe it isn't about back pain or fatigue. Maybe it's about power. The kind that slips away when you've run out of people to command. The empire he built on loyalty, influence, and fear is being dismantled piece by piece, and everyone's pretending it's just another season.
Criticism goes with the job. Criticism goes with our job, whether it's you on radio, television, me being as a player. As a player, you can never be sensitive.
LeBron's so-called injury isn't just about age. It's about the NBA finally winning. After years of being held hostage by his influence, the league has reasserted control. And if that's true, then his time away from the court isn't the end of his career. It's the end of his empire. The second apron didn't just balance the books. It buried a dynasty. The question now isn't whether LeBron will play again. It's whether he'll ever truly matter again in a league that's already moved on. The league got what it wanted. The question now, how far will they go to keep it that way? Let us know what you think. Was this a fair correction of power or the quiet takedown of a legend? Drop your thoughts below because the story's not over. And as always, we'll be watching the next chapter unfold. Until then, stay tuned, stay curious, and don't believe everything they tell you.